Hello, and thank you for tuning into the channel. Today, we'll take a look at top 10 performances of Vincent Price. Before you begin, be sure to like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more future updates. Number 10, The Inventor, Edward Scissorhands, 1990. Price's portrayal of the inventor is one of his most touching, despite not having as much horror as the other films on this list. It's difficult for me to watch Price's final film performance without crying. After so many years of portraying deranged villains, playing the inventor is such a refreshing change of pace. The inventor is so genuinely nice that we share Edward's grief when he dies unexpectedly. Number 9, François D'Lambert, The Fly, 1958. Price plays François D'Lambert, whose sister-in-law explains the circumstances of his brother's death in this classic horror film. He was, after all, a scientist conducting some fascinating experiments who happened to swap heads and one of his arms with a fly. Price gives a terrific performance as the bewildered brother, and he even appears in the sequel, Return of the Fly. While the film isn't as gruesome as its 1986 remake, the ending scene of the half-human fly screaming "Help me, help me," with that high-pitched voice will definitely stay with you. Number 8, Dr. Robert Morgan, The Last Man on Earth, 1964. The Last Man of Earth is the first of many films on this list in which Price played a doctor. It is based on Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend. Dr. Robert Morgan is played by Price, a survivor of a recent plague that claimed the lives of his wife and daughter, as well as the rest of the population. Those who died from the disease, on the other hand, are resurrecting as vampires. Every night Morgan goes out hunting vampires. He protects his home with garlic, mirrors, and wooden stakes. While the film is a bit slow, the film is entirely carried by Price's performance. As most of the film is Price alone, it's a great example of how good he really was. Number 7, Roderick Usher, House of Usher, 1960. House of Usher kicks off the great era of collaborations between Vincent Price and Roger Corman. These collaborations were primarily based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. This one included. Also for this film we get a bleach blonde Vincent Price, which definitely adds to the severity of Roderick Usher's appearance and character. Price brings a regal quality to the role of Roderick, who is more concerned with keeping the Usher bloodline intact than making sure his sister is happy. Roderick is evil and selfish, and Price's performance is a perfect representation of Poe's character. Number 6, Dr. Warrenchapin, The Tingler, 1959. The film that introduced the world to William Castle's Percepto gimmick. Percepto involved electric buzzers being attached to the bottoms of some theater seats during screenings. While the gimmick is cheesy, it is Vincent Price's performance that made it believable to audiences. Price's Dr. William Chapin is a pathologist studying the Tingler, a creature that feeds on terror, which you can only defeat by screaming. Dr. Chapin is in a movie theater, looking for the Tingle after it escapes his lab. He sees the Tingler moving across the screen. As the screen suddenly fades to black, Chapin gives the announcement that, ladies and gentlemen, please do not panic, but scream, scream for your lives. The Tingler is loose in this theater, and if you don't scream it may kill you. We hear women screaming over the announcement, and it seems like complete pandemonium. That's when the little buzzers would go off. It's a great Price performance, and it made William Castle's production even better. Number 5, Prince Prospero, The Mask of the Red Death, 1964. I have to say this may be my favorite performance of Price's in an Edgar Allan Poe adaptation. Price plays the evil Prince Prospero. Prospero throws an elaborate party for the nobility of the area, locking off his castle from the plague-stricken town he has ordered to be burned. Prospero is a Satanist who has kidnapped the lovely Francesca, Jane Asher, from the town and subjects her to his cruelty and complete disregard for the people he has condemned. Arguably one of the most evil characters Price ever played, Prince Prospero is not one to forget, and the film itself is a visually beautiful representation of color in 1960s film. Each room of the castle is a different color, just as it is in the Poe story, and the opulence of the sets and costumes is beautiful. Definitely a film to check out if you've never seen it. Number 4, Dr. Erasmus Craven, The Raven, 1963. The cast alone makes this film really fun. You've got Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, Boris Karloff, and a super young Jack Nicholson. Price plays Dr. Erasmus Craven, a wizard who has been mourning the death of his wife. One evening he is greeted by a raven gently rapping at his chamber door. Turns out the raven is a wizard as well. Dr. Adolphus Bedloe, played by Peter Lorre, who was transformed by magic. After Craven helps transform him back, they set off along with Craven's daughter and Bedloe's son to the castle of the man who transformed Bedloe. Enter Boris Karloff. The highlight of this film is the final magic duel between Price and Karloff. The 1960s special effects are fantastically cheesy but amazing. The back-and-forth dialogue between Lorre, Price, and Karloff is great, and the performances of all three make this an amazingly fun film. Number 3. Dr. Anton Fives, The Abominable Dr. Fives, 1971. I'm going to say that the character of Dr. Anton Fives is probably the strangest Price ever played. Fives, who was thought to be dead, returns to London to exact revenge on the doctors he believes are responsible for his wife's death. Each murder is based on one of the 10 plagues of Egypt, so the deaths are unique to say the least. What is great about this Price performance is we never really see him talking. It's all voiceover by Price. When Fives is speaking, his lips don't move and his mouth stays closed. He plugs a little microphone into his neck, and that's supposedly how we hear him. It makes for a creepy performance and a great classic. Number 2. Professor Henry Jared, House of Wax, 1953. Price's performance in House of Wax is amazing because we see three sides to the character of Professor Henry Jared throughout the film. When the film opens, Jared is this optimistic artist, capable of making beautiful creations out of wax. We even sympathize with him as each of his figures is set on fire. Then we see Jared as this crippled survivor of the fire, hardened after the traumatic experience, but still able to see the beauty in things. Then we see Jared murderer and body snatcher. It's quite a range of performance, and it makes for a classic Vincent Price film. Number 1. Frederick Loren, House on Haunted Hill, 1959. Quite possibly the most quintessential Price performance ever captured on screen. Frederick Loren invites a bunch of strangers to haunted house. Anyone who survives the night will get $10,000. Loren is suave, charismatic, and wealthy, but there is something devious about his little party and something a little suspicious about him. The witty banter between him and his philandering wife is entertaining as he tries to convince her to join the party. By far my favorite Vincent Price film, and my favorite performance. It's a must-see for any horror fan. This concludes today's video. What are your thoughts on our list? Please let us know what you think in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates.